The shoes for Hector. Please ready for listen. Hector's mother had gone to see Uncle Luis the day before graduation. Hector had come by the same evening. Everyone sat in the living room watching Uncle Luis as he took a white box out of a brown paper bag. Opening the box, he removed a pair of shiny, light brown shoes with tall heels and narrow. Holding them up proudly, he said, "This cost me $12, boy." Everybody looked at Hector and then back at Uncle Luis. "Here you go, my boy." He gestured toward Hector. "Try them on." "I'm not gonna try those thing on," Hector said. "Why not?" asked Uncle Luis. "What wrong with them?" "They are the latest style." "They're just not my type. Besides, they don't go with my suit, it's navy blue." "Those shoes are orange." Hector's younger brother and sister looked at each other and began to giggle and laugh. "Shout up, you dummies!" Hector shouted angrily. "Hector, what is the matter with you?" his mother asked. "That's no way to behave." "I'd rather wear my sneakers than those, Mommy. You and Poppy promised to buy me shoes. You didn't say anything about wearing Uncle Luis's shoes." "Wait a minute, now." "Just a minute," Hector's father said. "We know, but we just couldn't manage it now. Since your Uncle Luis has the same size foot as you, and he was nice enough to lend you his new shoes, what is the difference? We did what we could, son, you have to satisfied." Hector felt the blood rushing to his face and tried to control his embarrassment and anger. His parents had been preparing his graduation party now for more than a week. "They should spend the money on my shoes instead of a dumb party," he thought. Hector had used up all the earnings from his part-time job. He had bought his suit, tie, shirt, socks, and handkerchief. His parent had promised to buy him the shoes. "There is not 1 cent left," he thought, and it was just too late now. "That they laid me off for 3 days," his father said, "and that Petty got sick and that Georgie needed a winter jacket and Juantito some." As his father spoke, Hector wanted to say a few things. Like, "No, it's my fault that you had to spend the money for shoes on a party and a cake and everything to impress the neighbors and the familiar. Stupid dinner," but instead he remained quiet, he looked the floor and did not say word. "Hector, come on, my son. Hector, try them on, dear. Uncle Luis was nice enough to bring them. Please for me," he heard his mother plead. "Maybe I get into Poppy's shoes," Hector answered. "My shoes don't fit you. And your brother are all younger and smaller than you. There's nobody else." "You are lucky that Uncle Luis has the same size foot," his father responded. "Okay, I'll just wear my sneakers," said Hector. "Oh, no, no, you wear those shoes," his mother said. "Mommy, they are orange," Hector responded. "I'm not wearing them." "Come on, please," his mother coaxed. "They look nice and brand new too." Hector, his father said loudly. Now, your Uncle Luis was nice enough to bring them, and you are going to try them on. Everyone was silent and Hector sat sulking. His mother took the shoes from Uncle Luis and went over the Hector. Here, son, try them on, at least. See, she held them up. Look at them. They are not orange, just a light brown color. Only a very light brown. Without looking at anyone, Hector took the shoes and slowly put them on. No doubt about it, they felt like a perfect fit. How about that? Uncle Luis smiled. Now you look sharp. Right in style, boy. Hector stood up and walked a few steps. In spite of all the smiling faces in the living room, Hector still heard all the remarks he was sure his friends would make if he wore those shoes. Okay, you look wonderful. And it's only for one morning. You can take them right off after graduation, his mother said gently. Hector removed the shoes and put them back in the box, resigned that there was just no way out. At that moment he even found himself wishing that he had not been selected as valedictorian and wishing he wasn't receiving any honors. Take your time, Hector. You don't have to give back to me right away. Wear the shoes for the party. So you look good, he heard Uncle Luis calling out as he walked into his bedroom. That stupid party. Hector whispered loud. Part 2. With a pained expression on his face the next morning, Hector left his apartment wearing Uncle Luis's shoes. His father and mother walked proudly with him. Hector arrived at the school auditorium and took his place in the line. His father and mother sat in the audience smiling and waving at him. Hector, he walked up the long aisle onto the stage. He finished his speech and sat on a chair provided for him on the stage. They called him name again and again, and each time while Hector received honor or prize. Included were a wristwatch and a check for cash. Whenever Hector stood up and walked to the podium, he prayed that no one would notice his shoes. Finally, graduation exercise were over and Hector hurried off the stage, looking his parent. People congratulations him on his many honor and know his speech. His school friend shook his hand and they exchanged address. Hector found himself engaged in long goodbye. Slowly, people began to leave the large auditorium, and Hector and his parents headed for home. Hector sat on his bed and took off Uncle Luis's shoes. Goodbye, he said out loud, making a face, and dropped them into the box. He signed with relief. No one had ever mentioned the shoes, he thought. Man! I bet they didn't even notice them. Boy! Was I ever lucky? Nobody said a word. He said to himself. Reaching under the bed, he took out his sneakers and happily put them on. Looking at his new wristwatch, he put them on. That really something, he thought. He looked out the check for cash he had received and read, pay to the order of Hector. The sum of $25.01. I can't wait to show everybody, he said to himself. Hector left his room and looked into the kitchen. His mother and grandmother were busily preparing more food. He heard voice and music in the living room and quickly walked in that direction. Then his young brother and young sister saw him. They jumped up and down. "Here's Hector!" Petty yelled. "Happy graduation day!" everyone shouted. The living room full of the people. His father was talking to Uncle Luis and some neighbors. Uncle Luis called out, "There he is! Hector! There's my man now! Look!" Hector's father pointed to a table that was loaded with platters of food and a large cake. The cake had the inscription "Happy Graduation to Hector." Beside a large cake had a large card pointed in bright colors. "Happy Graduation Day, Hector, from your family Mommy, Papi, Abuelita, Petty, Georgie, Juanito, and Millie."